This next story, it's called Herr Korbes, and you'll find out why. Because once upon a time there was a village, and in that village there lived a man whose name was Herr Korbes, and he was, as you could imagine, horrible. He owned every house, every property, every business. And if you couldn't pay your rent on time, well, he simply chucked you out. And he would pick and he would prod and he would peck and weasel and needle until people got so sad and so fed up that they had nowhere to live and nowhere to go. And in this manner, there was a miller, a seamstress, and an old farming couple who lost their homes. But it wasn't just them who lost their homes, because you see, when the farm couple moved out, the animals had nowhere to go, and so the mother hen, she turned to her husband, the cockerel, and she said, "Bark, bark, bark, bark. I think we should go somewhere nice, somewhere far, far away." And the cockerel, he agreed, and so he started to make a small little cart with 4 red wheels, pulled by 4 little white mice. And when it was made, up onto the back of it sat the hen. Bark, bark. And that little cart started to trundle forward with the cockerel at the reins. And as that cart made its way out of the farmyard cat was sleeping, opened one lazy eye, looked at the cart. "Where are you going?" she called. And the cockerel turned round and said, "We're going to the home of Herr Korbes." "Oh, really? Can I come?" "Yes, yes," said the hen. And so the cat hopped onto the back of the cart, and it carried on trundling. And in this manner, the duck and the egg from the farmyard also joined on the back of the cart, and off they went down the lane. And they carried on until they came to where the mill house used to be. And in that place, well, the miller had long gone, but outside stood the millstone, which was used to grind the wheat. And as that little cart went past, the millstone grinded its words and said, "Where are you going?" And they all called out, "We're going to the home of Herr Korbes." And that millstone said, "Can I come?" And they all said, "Yes." And so it came up on its end and it started to trundle down the lane behind that cart. And the cart carried on going through the village, and it passed what used to be the seamstress house. And on the doorstep there led a single pin and a single needle. And as the cart went past, they jumped up on their ends and they said, "Where are you going?" And everybody on the cart shouted, "We're going to Herr Korbes' house." And so they said, "Can we come too?" And the people on the cart said, "Yes." And so they jumped up onto the cart, and the cart carried on going, and they got to the other side of the village, and there stood an impressive house. There stood a rich house. And that's where the cart stopped, and the cockerel hopped off. He went to the door and he pecked, pecked, pecked. Peck, peck, peck. Peck, 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 but nobody was in. So they decided to hide the cart in the barn, and that's where the mice hid it, and into the house crept all the other things. The cockerel and the hen, well, they went up in the rafters to roost. The cat found herself a nice place by the hearth and nestled herself down. The duck went and sat in the well. The egg wrapped itself up in a towel. The pin let itself down on a cushion on the chair. The needle let itself down on a pillow on the bed. And the millstone rolled its way up onto the lintel above the back door. And they waited. And they waited and they waited till it was dark and cold outside, and Herr Korbes came home, brushing the snow from his shoulders, shaking it from his boots. So cold was it, the first thing he wanted to get going was the fire. So he went straight to the fireplace, and no sooner did he get there than the cat leapt up and threw ash in his face. "Oh! Ah! Oh!" So he stumbled back outside to go and wash his face in the well, but up leapt the duck, and she pecked and she pecked and she pecked at his face, and ow! He ran back into the house, into the kitchen, grabbed for the towel, put it to his face, and crack and splat went the egg. Oh! He was getting quite fed up by now, and so he decided he would go and sit in his favourite chair and humph. So he stormed down, sat in the chair. Oh! The pin went straight in his bottom. He ran upstairs, threw himself on the bed, and the needle went straight in his head. Ah! Everywhere he went in that house, it was torment. He'd had enough. He ran down the stairs, ran straight to the back door, and as he opened the back door, splat!
The millstone.
The millstone landed on his head and squashed him flatter than his own generosity. And with that, the hen and the cockerel leapt down from the rafters, and they looked and they went, "Oh dear, what shall we do now?" And all the others gathered around and they said, "It's quite a nice house here, we could move in. And there's quite a lot of money I've seen, but if we've got this house, we don't need the money. We could give the money to the miller and the seamstress and the old farm couple and everybody else in the village who's been made to have a horrible life because of that old Herr Korbes." And of course, everybody agreed, and so that's what happened. And that village, well, you've never met a happier lot in all of your life. And they celebrate Christmas really well every year, just in memory of the demise of old Herr Korbes. Boo!